By the time we returned from the island of Enoshima to the town of Kamakura, the sun was already beginning to go down, and of course we realized we probably weren't going to get to go to the beach on that day. We could have, I mean, it was allowable, but would rather not be out any later. We were pretty exhausted by that time, so we decided to head on back to the hotel. As you can see, the town is even more quaint and beautiful as the sun's going down. It's very beautiful at night. Again, I'll point out that this street that we're on here, while it almost looks like an alleyway and is probably reserved for pedestrian traffic only, no, in fact, cars can drive on it, but they will drive generally on the main drags and then just go on these tiny streets as they need to deliver. At long last, we've returned to the hostel Yuigahama and Soba Bar, our hotel. And as you can see, the lights on the second floor, that's the common room that I showed you before from the inside. So this little tiny building, a little sliver of a thing that sits back off the road, is actually our hotel. And you can see on the bottom floor, it's kind of busy. They got some customers for some dinner. There's only, I want to say, a couple outdoor tables and maybe 4 on the inside, plus a bar people can sit at. But beautiful little place, lots of fun. So we're going to have dinner there this evening. As tired as we were, it was impossible to stay asleep very long. We were just so excited about getting out and exploring some more. So we got up fairly early. As you can see, the sun is just coming up. The continental breakfast wasn't even served yet. This little alleyway, I wanted to show you this. So it's down along the side of the building, and it goes around behind, and there is actually a lock panel on the door where you can punch in a code and access it in the middle of the night. So if you should come back from someplace at night and the place is already closed, you can just punch your code in and enter, because otherwise there won't be anybody available to let you in. So this is our hotel. So before departing the town, we decided we'd take a morning walk and get to see the few things we didn't see before. And we'll start with this. This is literally 1 block up the street from our hotel. These are Rokujizo statues. They're all over Japan, but this particular set right here is the most famous in Japan. And what these are is they are always in a set of 6, and they are figurines of prayers who are praying for the souls of criminals who've been put to death, praying that they can find enlightenment. So this is the most famous one. Like I said, we walked maybe 30 feet to get to it. And 1 block beyond the statues, we found a small street or road that goes straight down to the coastline. And as you can see right in front of us, there's a void there in front of us where that's actually where the Pacific Ocean is. So we decided to take a nice long morning stroll down to the ocean front. I love this little Daihatsu pickup truck. It's a little business truck, but absolutely adorable. It's just so tiny. And as you can see, we are approaching a railroad crossing. So this crossing we've come to is Wadazuka Station on the Enadin line on the little electric railroad. We were so tired when we got back the night before. If I had had my wits about me, I would have realized on the map that this little station was right here. It's just a matter of blocks from our hotel. Instead, we went all the way up into the center of Kamakura and had to make that long trek back to the hotel when we could have just gotten off here. It would have been a little easier. As we go past some backyards, we see these. It's not uncommon to see memorials or even a Shinto shrine right in someone's backyard. Part of Shinto is revering of one's deceased ancestors. So these kind of memorials are actually common. Since everything is quiet and we had some time on our hands, I decided I'm going to show you kind of the anatomy of these drink machines. As you can see, a little closer up than I've been showing you. These are coffees, teas, both hot and cold. I see a sports drink in the upper right. So these machines can do both hot and cold in the same machine. Here's a close-up of some of these. Now these are not the real cans. As you can see, these are plastic molds that look just like the real thing, so that you can see what's offered in the machine. You see a lot of things referring to American. That means American style. It's never been in the United States. It's not really American coffee. It's Japanese coffee. Generally superior. Japanese coffee is outstanding. And then in this one over on the right, you can see there's also candy bars available, especially Kit Kats. They are fanatics about Kit Kats. They have more than 150 different flavors of Kit Kats. And they're so excited about their Kit Kats that when you're on a flight, like say a regional flight from Tokyo to Osaka, for example, you're not even going to have time for a full meal. So what they have are what they call coffee and Kit Kat flights, where you get a cup of coffee and they bring around a big tray of different flavors of Kit Kats, and you get to pick a few Kit Kats to go with your coffee. Once you get off the beaten path, you begin to realize that the car culture is very important in Japan. They love their cars. You see things like this white one here, which I can't even identify what that is. I've never seen that brand. Here's a Toyota that's not released in the United States. And not only do they like their new modern cars, they're also into some of the old classics. For example, here's an old Mini before they had been made by BMW. So this is not one of the new ones. This is a very, very old car. And they love to collect this kind of thing. And finally, we reached Kamakura Seaside Park, which is where Kamakura Beach is located. Now, one thing you'll notice when you watch anime is you constantly hear crows in the background. You generally think of the seaside as being gulls, but for some reason the seaside here is covered with these enormous crows, and they may not look that big in this picture, but these things are the size of someone's cat. They are huge crows. I've never seen crows that big. And as you can see, they just sit around everywhere. Now there's some garbage right there, but the locals will come pick that up. First thing they do is the elderly people go out each morning and pick up all the garbage around the beach that the tourists left behind. And here you can see a warning to beware hawks. There are hawks around that beach that can literally pick up your young kids and steal them. And at long last, we've reached Kamakura Beach on the Pacific Ocean. You can see there's a few people swimming, even though it's May. Water's a little cool. So I had Christian stand right at this specific spot because in my book, Sujimura Etsuko and the Copper Horses, the main character meets a guest right here at this spot on the beach in the middle of the night. So this is a scene from my book. I was very excited about getting to go here as well. It's a very beautiful beach, and you can see it's very clean. The only people I ever saw throw down garbage were all Westerners, all Americans and Europeans. And so these old folks, like this person here, they go out with a garbage bag first thing in the morning, and they pick up all the junk off their beach. It's a shame they should even have to feel like they need to do that. And then this is looking toward the east end of the beach. On the other side of that is Tokyo Bay. Now to head back to the hotel, we decided to go up Wakamiya Oji, which I mentioned. The main drag goes all the way from the beach all the way to the Hachiman Shrine. So we decided to see a little different scenery on the way back. So this is the Anana Bar on Wakamiya Oji. So right down near the beach. Real fancy little bar, multiple levels. Very cute little place. Even cuter yet is this little hamburger dive called Kolo Kolo Burger. And that's all it is. It's just that tiny little blockhouse you see there toward the left. And you can, of course, see the Anana Bar next to it. But that little tiny thing right there, that's the entire restaurant. So it's just a walk-up only. And it makes American hamburgers. Now this business is called Kamakura Miyakawa. And what it is it's a sake brewery. The way you can tell is by, if you look at the peak of the roof, you see that gold ball. That's called a tsukidama, and it's not a traditional one. Traditionally, the tsukidama is a big globe that's tied together in the center. It's actually branches from cedar trees, so it's a huge cedar ball, and they will dangle that when the fresh sake of the season is finished brewing and is bottled and ready for sale. And that way you know that the new batch is ready. And just beyond the sake brewery, we see our first torii for the Hachiman Shrine. And these will be all along Wakamiya Oji, all the way up to the shrine. Now, we haven't gotten to the pretty park down the center yet. You don't run into that until you're literally right in the center of town. So we got to have a way to go until then. But this is where the tories all begin, down near the ocean front. And from here they become more and more common. And here we see not a koban, not a police substation, but the actual Kamakura police station. And man, talk about a weird vehicle. I just can't even begin to imagine what any of that apparatus on that vehicle actually does. Kind of strange looking, to say the least. So this particular structure is SJO Coffee. It's a coffee shop on Wakamiya Oji. Very pretty. Now, on the other end of that bridge that you can see, so it would be to our right, was one of the most beautiful buildings I saw in Japan. It looked like an enormous like Roman palace. And what it was a school. And I don't have a picture of it for you. I could not get a picture. It is frowned upon taking pictures of schools in Japan, or in Korea for that matter. It is assumed if you're a foreigner taking pictures of schools that you may be in the process of stalking their children. And they do have closed circuit television. If they see you doing that, you will probably be taken in for questioning, and you may be held for some time. So you do not photograph schools. So we've made it back to our hotel. This is actually the soba restaurant portion of it. You can see on the counter they've got the continental breakfast out. You can see how tiny this little restaurant is. It only holds a handful of people. The woman behind the glass right there, that is an entryway. That goes up to the upstairs and to the men's dorm. So that accesses the sleeping areas. And this is their continental breakfast. Infinitely more appealing and healthy than a 3 or 4 day old Danish that came from a second-hand bakery shop. So what this is, they have a big tub of steamed rice, and they have these packets like in little Ziploc bags of this goo, and you empty that into a bowl and add hot water, and it gives you this excellent bowl of miso soup. So it's literally everything that's required to make a full bowl of soup. And so you have miso and rice. They also have raw eggs. You can crack one of those over it, eat raw egg over it if you wish. And that's your continental breakfast. Sadly, it was time to say goodbye to the Hostel Huigahama and Soba Bar. By far the best hotel I've ever stayed at. We were very tempted to change our itinerary and stay a couple more days, but we couldn't. I also want to point out the little picture at the bottom there. That's a picture of a Daruma doll. And so Daruma dolls are very common in Japan. They're very colorful. They're usually red and white, some black trim. And people will buy them because they are trying to fulfill a particular accomplishment. So they'll buy the thing, and when they start their accomplishment, they'll paint in one of the eyes, and then when they've completed their project, they'll paint in the other eye. And so preventing this thing from looking like a one-eyed doll is kind of a driving force. It makes them constantly reminded that they've got to stay on the project and get it done. And finally, we've made it back to Kamakura Station, where we're about to get on our train and go back to Asakusabashi, where we will be staying for the remainder of the trip. So in the next segment then, we'll be showing you some scenes, just some street scenes from some of the stuff that we discovered around Asakusabashi, and our first little adventure into Akihabara. And so that's what I will be covering in the next segment.